A citizen advocate who served 16 years as an Alachua County Commissioner, Penny Wheat was known for her support of neighborhoods, public health, and natural resources. She worked with county functional groups and on the team that spearheaded Alachua County's energy reduction policies and programs. Penny served as chair of the 2008 Alachua County Energy Conservation Strategies Commission. Welcome, Penny.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's been a while since I've seen you up on the dais. It's nice. I think your last year as a commissioner was my first year with the county.
2004.
That's right. So we're here to talk about the Charter Review Commission and that whole process, but why don't we start by just talking about what is a charter county?
In 1986, the voters of Alachua County had the opportunity to vote on a ballot item creating Alachua County as a charter county. And by doing so, it gives us in Alachua County powers of home rule government that other counties, unless they are charter counties, do not have. Mm-hmm. I believe the charter actually took effect January 1st, 1987.
Mm-hmm. And can you give us maybe some examples of what a charter county might be able to do versus a non-charter county?
Well, let me start at the beginning. The charter that was adopted in 1986 said that once every 10 years, or every 10 years beginning in 1990, there would be a charter review commission convened that would study the charter, review the charter, study the charter, and propose any amendments that it deemed advisable. And those amendments go straight to the ballot for the public to vote on. So the Alachua County Charter has three ways that the charter can be amended. The County Commission can place an item on the ballot at any time. Members of the public can, by what's called citizen initiative, gather petitions, signatures on petitions to place an item on the ballot. But once every 10 years, there's a group of citizens, Alachua County citizens, I think it's between 7 and 12 or 9 and 13 or something, appointed by the County Commission. And the Charter Review Commission cannot be appointed any earlier than 18 months before the general election. So it is the general election at which any proposed amendments would be placed on the ballot.
And in this case, we're talking about the November 2020
yes.
election.
So the County Commission appointed members to the Charter Review Commission September 10th. Our first meeting was September 26th, and we have been dealing with administrative issues, protocol. We've adopted rules of procedure. We're still working on our timeline. And at our last meeting on January 8th, we took our first stab at reviewing proposals that have been submitted.
And you've got a really great flow chart that's available on our Charter Review Committee website.
As a matter of fact, I want to thank you. Your staff and the county's IT staff have done a wonderful job in creating our Charter Review Commission website, which you can reach by going to ac2020crc.us. And on that website, we have our public meeting schedule. We have a number of resources, including the meeting agenda and the backup materials, minutes of previous meetings, the previous Charter Review Commission reports are on there, so you can read those. There are videos from the 2010 Charter Review Commission, as well as all of our meetings have been uploaded as well. There are three ways that you can contact us. You can contact us through the phone number for our staff liaison, which is 352-337-6144. You can write to all of us at charterreview@alachuacounty.us. Or if you're interested in submitting a proposal, there's an online form, which then is immediately uploaded to the website so you can see the proposals that have been submitted.
Have we had good submissions so far?
We have had, let's see, I checked a little before noon today, about 40 3, I believe. And they range from changing the name of the county to creating term limits for county commissioners, to changing district representation. There has been one suggestion about land use in previously unincorporated areas of the county that were annexed into a municipality. There has been one suggesting that the Environmental Protection Department become a charter office in Alachua County that, instead of reporting to the county manager, would report directly to the county commission. And at our meeting this past Wednesday night, and also now online, there is a proposal regarding transparency of public records.
So just to step back a couple of steps,
Okay.
for those who just have no idea what the county charter is, would you agree that it's kind of, in a way, the Constitution governing
It does.
Alachua County government?
It is. The charter cannot conflict with either the state or federal constitution, and nothing in the charter can conflict with state law. And where the state has preempted unto itself certain laws or activities, we can't go there either, unfortunately. Sometimes, based on what I hear about new bills that have been filed in the legislature, it's almost as if there's someone in Tallahassee who checks all the Charter Review Commission websites, and then somebody files a bill to prevent us from expressing ourselves locally, which is our right.
Sure. I also wear the hat of the Legislative Affairs
Yes, I know.
Director. So every session, we have a couple of things that we're hoping for that are very positive, but frankly, a large part of what I do is keep an eye on things that seem to be eroding home rule and
Home rule
charter
authority.
county authority.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in the past, Charter Review Commissions have placed on the ballot items like, in 2000, there was a proposed amendment to have Alachua County's water and air regulations be enforced countywide, even in municipalities, and that passed overwhelmingly. In 2000, the Charter Review Commission also placed on the ballot a non-binding referendum asking the public if we in Alachua County wanted to control the amount of money that is given to candidates in local elections. And there had to be a non-binding referendum because we didn't have the legal ability to do that until several years later. The legislature passed a special act giving us that authority. And then there was another ballot item in which the public voted to indeed enforce local campaign finance regulation.
So now, written into the county charter, for example, is you can't give a candidate, an individual can't give a candidate any more than $250
Per election, that's correct.
And that was all due to the charter review
That's
process.
correct. That's correct.
What I know, one thing that I found interesting was the charter amendment that created the land registry. Are you familiar with that one? Alachua County Forever is a great thing, and we put a lot of land into conservation, but our commissioners actually supported putting this on the ballot so that to get a piece of land off the protected registry would require a
vote of the public.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the charter also spells out the form of our government, that it's a commission manager form of government.
That's
and
correct.
all of those things.
That we have 5 commissioners, that they are elected at large, which means that everybody in the county gets to vote for all 5 county commissioners. And that's different. Some other places have decided to create single-member districts like the city of Gainesville. And there are pros and cons to doing that. And as I said earlier, we've just begun to review the submitted proposals, and we'll continue doing that from now on. At some point, we will have to eliminate proposals from consideration. Because as I'm sure you know, when it gets to the ballot, especially a general election, a countywide general election ballot, when the president and members of Congress and the governor and members of the Florida legislature, as well as the judiciary and county commissioners are all on the ballot, we have a very lengthy ballot. So in addition to the Charter Review Commission having a very short time frame in which to work, we are also cognizant of the fact that there is such a thing as voter fatigue. And so while there are many proposals that have been made, we can probably only consider placing on the ballot a few of them for the voters to consider.
I know that one of the things that the Charter Review Commission chose to exercise was its ability to hire legal counsel.
Actually, that's written into the charter.
Right.
That the Charter Review Commission hires its own legal counsel,
So
and the
that's a
county
requirement.
commission. That's a requirement.
Okay.
The county commission shall pay for that, and the reason being is that the Charter Review Commission is not like a normal county advisory board and committee that reports to the county commission, make recommendations. The Charter Review Commission is outside of that. So while we're appointed by the county commission, we don't report to the county commission, we report to the voters. And because of that, and because there could be a difference of opinion or a conflict between the county and the Charter Review Commission, the charter was set up in such a way so that the Charter Review Commission hires its own legal counsel and chooses its own administrative support, and the county pays for that. And we're cognizant of that as well, and we're trying to be as effective both with everyone's time and the public resources we've been allocated.
I noticed the person you hired to be the kind of liaison with the county and to provide administrative support is a very familiar name.
Yes, he is. He was the city clerk for 24 years, and we were delighted to have him. You know, it's very interesting. The first two Charter Review Commissions met in 1990, and then there was an abbreviated one in 1992. And the same county attorney and county manager were there for those, as had been here when the charter was adopted in 1986. And then in 2000 and 2010, the same county attorney and county manager were available for those two Charter Review Commissions. That's not the case this year. We have a new county manager and a new county attorney who have not served with to my knowledge, with a Charter Review Commission. So we have had to recreate a lot of information, and we're putting together a report, which is also required by the charter, for the 2030 Charter Review Commission, so they won't have to start from square one.
I've been very interested in watching your meetings. There is a really kind of a constant interaction between the attorney you've hired, who's very experienced in these matters, and one of the challenges you have when considering submissions is not only is it a good idea that 7 out of 12 commissioners, which is an interesting point actually. The county commission appointed 12 members.
That's correct.
So in effect, you need kind of a super majority.
Well, the rules of procedure we have adopted, which should be on the website shortly, lay out that once there have been proposals submitted, then it takes 7 of the 12 to move it forward. But more than that, if a proposal has been submitted, it requires 2 sponsors, 2 members of the Charter Review Commission to actually place a motion on the floor and second it to sponsor this item. And then it takes 7 of the 12 to move it forward. And then once it goes to legal review, it takes 7 out of the 12 of us to move it forward to a public hearing. Mm-hmm. And then once we've held the public hearings, it takes 7 of the 12 of us, at least 7 of the 12 of us, to move an item to the ballot, at which point we're required to send it to the county commission. County commission is required to hold a public hearing, but they cannot change the proposals we've submitted. They must simply send them to the supervisor of elections to have them placed on the ballot.
That's just an administrative step.
That's
they can't
required
alter.
in the charter.
Right,
No, they can't
right.
alter it.
What other procedural things would you like to communicate to the public?
There are a couple of procedural things. We have a timeline within which we must work that is set out by the charter. And then we have a timeline based on when the supervisor of elections requires ballot language for setting up the ballot and sending it to the printer. And then we have to work back from that to create the dates for 3 public hearings. And so at some point we will need to say, very soon we will choose a date by which we were not going to consider any more submissions.
Okay.
And at some date in the future also, which is a date we will set shortly, we will eliminate proposals from consideration. So while we are looking at all of the proposals and trying to determine which ones we want to move forward for which to receive more information, we're not eliminating anything yet, but we're going to have to choose the date at which we will eliminate the ones from consideration.
So at the time that we're taping this, we're not quite sure on the exact date
That's
of when
correct.
submissions ends, but
That's correct.
roughly, just so people are viewing, April-ish?
April-ish,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Because a lot has to be done to get it on the
There's
November
a lot
ballot.
of discussion that will take place with the attorney. The attorney will have a lot of review and writing to provide us, opinions to provide us, and then we will have to discuss language. So there is a lot of deliberative work that the commission has to do after the submittals.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, as always.